Okay, so we just looked at the parabola x squared, and we moved it up and down and left and right, and we flipped it over. Now we're going to change its shape, making it steeper, not skinnier, and flatter, not fatter. So let's go for y equals 2x squared. Now we're changing the shape, so let's do a table of values. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Carefully writing the equation down below, y equals 2x squared, carefully taking the first value of x and substituting it in for x from the table. Y equals, now remember, bed mass, exponents first. -2 squared is 4, so it's 2 times 4. Y equals 2 times 4 is 8. Circle your answer, put it in the table. Now notice we have a pretty high y value, and let's just graph it low. So x-axis low. So -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Labeling the point, -2, 8. So let's try and continue, but do a table of values in our head. Putting -1 in, we have to square the -1 first. -1 squared is 1. Then we have to times it by the coefficient in front, times 2. And 1 times 2 is 2, so we get 2 in the table to the right of -1. We can put that point on the graph, -1, 2. Label a point, -1, 2. Okay, taking x being 0, substituting it in, doing exponents first. 0 squared is 0, times the coefficient 2 is 2. Excuse me, times the coefficient 2 is 0. 0 in the table. Again, 0 squared is 0, times 2 is 0. Putting the point on the graph, 0, 0. Then taking the next x value 1 and substituting it in for x. Bed mass, exponents first. 1 squared is 1, times the coefficient 2 is 2. Putting the point on the graph, 1, 2. And taking the last x value in the table, 2, and putting it in. 2 squared is 4, times 2 is 8. 2, 8. And we've got a steeper parabola. Now, again, we don't need the table of values and substitution. We can just look at the bottom point, the vertex, V, and we can think over 1, but this time 1 squared times the coefficient 2. 1 squared is 1, times 2 is 2, and that's why it's up 2. So, where it used to be 1 squared is 1, times 1 is 1 up 1 with x squared. 2 squared is 4. So over 2 up 4. Now we just have a different pattern. Over 1, 1 squared is 1, times the coefficient 2 up 2. Timesing by the coefficient. Now instead of, again, memorizing this pattern, just remembering how to do substitution in your head again. So if we put 2 in for x, then it's going to be over 2. 2 squared is 4, times 2 is 8 up 8. Just taking the x value in question away from the vertex, putting it into the equation, and knowing it has a 2 shape. So, what about y equals 1/2 x squared down below? Well, look at the graph. It's flatter than x squared. So, now let's take a look of that in summary. A couple of summaries. Excuse me. So let's look at the most recently, our summary. We have y equals x squared, our regular graph of 0, 0. 1 squared is 1 up 1. 2 squared is 4 up 4. And then we've drawn a dotted line of x squared down below on both of them for you to see x squared on both. And then we can see that 2x squared is steeper, not skinnier. And off to the right in blue, 1/2 x squared is flatter, not fatter. And then a gigantic summary in perfect color down below. So that's changing shape summary. Now let's combine changing shape summary with same shape summary same shapes that we did in the previous section. So let's look at the top graph. All of these graphs have a 1 in front of their x squareds. So they all have the same pattern. Let's do green first, y equals x squared. Also written with a bunch of zeros for later. So we have 0 squared is 0, doing a table of values in our head. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, and symmetrical points. And then those are on the green line, y equals x squared. Now what about this thing off to the right in red? Well, that looks like a combination. So, outside of the brackets, exactly as you see it. Up and down, down 3. Inside the brackets, the opposite as you see it. Right 4. Taking the parabola x squared in green and going down 3 and right 4 with all of its points, and moving each of those points carefully down 3, right 4, and all of them, and you'll get the same pattern. Vertex, 1 squared is 1, times 1 is 1 up 1. 2 squared is 4, times 4 is 4 up 4. And vice versa with the big blue off to the left, well, that's just left 6. The opposite of plus 6, and plus 2 up 2. So left 6 up 2. Memorize x squared in that pattern, but better memorize the shape that the table of values that you're doing in your head to make the shape. Okay, so down below, we just finished talking about 2x squared, which table of values in our heads, 0 squared is 0 times 2 is 0. 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2, up 2, symmetrical point. 2 squared is 4 times 2 is 8, symmetrical point, and we get our green parabola. And that's because we have a 2 in front, y equals 2x squared. So what if we had the same version from above in red, down 3 and right 4, down 3, the negative 3, right 4, the negative 2. Well, then we're just going to take the 2x squared shape and move it down 3 and right 4. And the same to all the points. Down 3, right 4. And you get the same pattern that we do with the 2 shape. 1 squared is 1, times 2 is 2, up 2. 2 squared is 4, times 2 is 2, up 8. 2 squared is 4, times 2 is 8, up 8. So starting to really understand how tables of values work in your head, and then it doesn't matter where the shape is. And what we've just done is introduce you to vertex form. Vertex form. So we're going to go over vertex form a little bit more over soon, and on the review sheet at the beginning of the chapter, or watch it at the end or whatever. And now on to how to go back and forth between the form that we saw in grade 10 to this form that we have right here, and why that form is good. Okay.